Usually, a deep understanding of a complex philosophical topic requires an equally massive volume of material.
Oh, absolutely. Like a towering stack of research papers.
Right, or hundreds of pages of historical context, or, hours of lectures just to scratch the surface.
Yeah, it's normally a huge undertaking.
Totally. But today, you, our listener, have brought us something entirely different. You've handed us literally a single sentence.
Which is pretty rare for us.
It really is. Specifically, it's an excerpt from Sura Ash-Shura, verse 42, line 8, which is often titled, The Divine Will and Single Community.
And it is genuinely striking how much conceptual architecture is packed into this one specific line.
It's just a handful of words.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We are dealing with a handful of words that manage to assert, a complete framework for human autonomy, the nature of divine authority, and, well, really the mechanics of cosmic justice.
It's a massive nugget of knowledge, and our mission today is to take a microscopic look at this exact text.
Right down to the clauses.
Yeah, exactly. And as your guides on this custom-tailored deep dive, it's important to establish our baseline right up front.
Right, our ground rules.
Yes. We are here to impartially unpack the literal words and the philosophical claims presented in this excerpt. We aren't, endorsing a specific religious doctrine.
It don't matter at all.
And we definitely aren't taking theological sides. Our goal is strictly to help you understand the profound concepts contained within these few words.
Which is super necessary because the text makes incredibly bold claims from the very first clause.
It really doesn't hold back.
It doesn't. It essentially tackles three massive ideas in rapid succession. First, the intentionality behind why humanity is so divided.
Which is a huge topic on its own.
Huge. Then, the absolute authority of how mercy is distributed. And finally, the terrifying existential vulnerability of being entirely unprotected.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's jump straight into that first idea because it requires looking at a counterfactual.
Right, a hypothetical.
Yeah. To understand the human condition as presented in this text, we have to first look at what the text says could have been reality, but isn't.
The alternative universe, basically.
Exactly. So the verse opens with this. Had God so willed, he could have made all of them one community.
What's fascinating here is how that phrasing immediately reorients how the reader is supposed to view human history.
How so?
Well, humans have this tendency to look at our fragmented state, the ideological chasms, the cultural friction.
The endless geopolitical conflicts.
Exactly.
Oh.
And we naturally interpret that as a fundamental failure.
Oh, right. Like we messed up somewhere along the line.
Yes. We view division as a deviation from some ideal utopian state of perfect unity that we somehow bungled.
I mean, we look at all the friction and just assume it's a glitch in the system.
Totally.
But this text explicitly rejects that. It asserts that absolute frictionless unity was entirely within the capability of the divine architect.
It was an option on the table.
Right. Think about a master programmer building a vast simulation.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Right. So the programmer could easily code all the avatars to be perfectly identical.
Which is a perfectly synchronized monoculture.
Exactly. Like a clockwork mechanism or a vast field of genetically modified crops. The creator of that system could ensure every single component acts in perfect harmony with zero deviation.
But they didn't.
They didn't. And the fact that they aren't unified means the diversity, the division, or this lack of a single community is not a glitch in the system. It is a deliberate feature.
And the implication of that is profound.
Aye.
Because the divine had the absolute power to enforce that kind of single community and actively chose not to.
Right.
Which means the messy, fragmented reality we actually inhabit is not an accident. The division is a deliberate feature of the design.
It was intentional.
Exactly. It forces you to view human difference not as a mistake to be fixed, but as a condition that was intentionally permitted by a higher will.
Wow. I mean, this completely shifts the blame, or at least the origin story of human conflict.
It really does.
Yeah. It tells the reader, you are divided because you were structurally allowed to be divided.
Right. It wasn't a mistake.
No. It takes the existence of friction completely out of the realm of human error and places it squarely in the realm of divine intention.
And that deliberate choice against a monoculture, it sets the stage for the entire problem of the human condition.
Because you suddenly have variables.
Exactly. If you don't have a single unified community moving in perfect lockstep, you have individuals. You have millions of autonomous agents colliding, making choices and generating friction.
Just bouncing off each other constantly.
Right. So the immediate philosophical problem then becomes, how does a sovereign entity govern a system that was intentionally designed to be fractured?
Well, the text pivots instantly to answer that, right? Moving from the macro-level community architecture down to the micro-level intervention.
Yes, it zooms right in.
The very next clause reads, "But he admits into his mercy whom he wills."
Right there, the text establishes the mechanism of interaction between the divine and the individual.
But see, here's where it gets really interesting. Because I have a real problem with the phrasing, whom he wills, and I kind of want to push back on the premise here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Put yourself in the position of someone reading this text for, actionable guidance. Human psychology naturally craves a transactional morality.
We want a rubric.
Exactly. We want a clear, predictable rubric. We want a system that says, if you perform these specific actions and avoid these specific behaviors, you will trigger a guaranteed payout of mercy.
Like a cosmic checklist.
Yes, a
Okay.
checklist. But by explicitly saying that mercy is granted to whom he wills, doesn't the text imply a sense of total unpredictability from the human perspective?
It certainly sounds like it.
Right. I mean, it reads like theological determinism. It sounds entirely arbitrary.
Let's see how you'd get there.
If the initial division of humanity was God's will, and the ultimate salvation of the individual is also just God's will, it implies that human agency is essentially an illusion.
Like, our actions don't matter.
Yeah. It sounds like the individual's choices don't actually matter because the sovereign entity is just picking favorites based on absolute sovereignty rather than a checklist of human actions.
And that is the exact tension that philosophers and theologians have agonized over for centuries regarding this kind of phrasing.
I mean, I would agonize over it. It's frustrating.
It is a deeply uncomfortable concept for the human ego. We want control.
Always.
But let's look closer at the mechanics of what the text is actually doing, rather than what we want it to do.
Okay, fair
The
enough.
text does not provide a rubric or criteria for earning mercy in this specific excerpt. But it's not necessarily saying human choices are irrelevant.
Okay, then what is it saying?
It is aggressively dismantling the idea that human actions can force a divine reaction.
Oh, so it's fundamentally about power dynamics.
Entirely about power dynamics. Think about it. If humans possessed a guaranteed checklist, if doing action A mandated that God must deliver mercy B, then the human would ultimately be in control of the transaction.
The human becomes the boss of the system.
Exactly. God would be reduced to a cosmic vending machine.
Oh, I like that. Put in the correct currency of good deeds and grace automatically dispenses.
Right. And by stating, he admits into his mercy whom he wills, the text violently severs that transactional assumption.
It just cuts it right off.
It preserves the absolute unmitigated sovereignty of the divine.
So it maintains the asymmetry of the relationship. The creator retains full executive privilege over the system.
Yes. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, notice the conceptual symmetry the author is building here.
Symmetry between the clauses.
Yes. The first clause tied the macro architecture of human existence, the lack of a single community, directly to God's will.
Right. The deliberate division.
And now the second clause ties the micro ultimate outcome of human existence, mercy
Mhm.
directly to God's will.
Oh, wow. I see it.
The entire framework of reality, from the starting line to the finish line, is bound by this concept of a supreme, untethered intentionality.
But doesn't that still leave the individual in a state of terrifying unpredictability?
It leaves you in a state of ultimate dependence.
Because if I can't bind God to a contract through my actions, I am completely at the mercy of a logic I can't control or, frankly, fully comprehend.
That's the reality it presents. The text doesn't imply the divine will is random or irrational. It assumes the divine has a perfect logic.
Even if we can't see it.
Right, though perhaps incomprehensible to us. But you are correct that it completely removes the comfort of predictability.
Which is terrifying.
It is. Mercy is framed as a sovereign gift, not a contractual wage that a human can demand payment for. You cannot unionize and demand salvation based on your own metrics of fairness.
Which creates an incredibly stark dichotomy, because if the text establishes this supreme, untouchable authority over who receives mercy, it inherently forces a dichotomy.
It casts a massive shadow over the rest of the board.
Exactly. It forces the reader to confront the alternative. What is the state of those who fall outside of this specific sovereign will for mercy?
Well, the verse doesn't shy away from that outcome at all. It immediately moves to define that alternative state with its final chilling clause.
Yeah, let me read it. And the wrongdoers have neither protector nor helper.
It's so blunt.
So, what does this all mean? I want to zero in on the specificity of those two words, protector and helper, because they construct a very specific type of terror.
They really do. It's not just poetic repetition.
No, it's very precise. Think about any kind of structural defense, whether you are looking at international diplomacy, a complex legal battle, or even physical survival. You rely on two distinct lifelines.
Two vectors of aid.
Exactly. First, you have a protector. A protector is preventative.
Like a shield.
Right. It is the patron, the legal shield, or the sovereign immunity that stands between you and the incoming consequences. It stops the disaster from ever reaching you.
It acts as the barrier against the liability.
But no barrier is infallible.
Right.
When the protector fails or when the judgment breaches the wall, you require the second vector.
The helper.
The helper. A helper is an active, intervening ally whose function is to pull you out of the wreckage after the consequences have already taken hold.
So one averts the crisis and the other rescues you from it.
Exactly. And by explicitly stating that the wrongdoer has neither, the text is completely stripping away any conceivable safety net. It's unmitigated vulnerability.
This raises an important question, though, about the nature of consequence. What stands out here is the complete absence of physical descriptions of punishment.
Oh, you're right. There's no fire or anything.
Right. When people think of divine retribution, they often expect graphic imagery. Fire, physical torment, active destruction.
The classic fire and brimstone.
Exactly. But this text bypasses all of that.
Yeah.
It doesn't just say the wrongdoers are punished. It defines their ultimate punishment simply as an absolute void of aid.
It's an absence, not an action.
Yes. It is a state of total, unmitigated existential isolation.
So the punishment isn't a strike inflicted upon them. The punishment is the total withdrawal of connection.
Consider the logical progression we've just walked through with this one sentence.
Okay, let's trace it back.
The text established in the first two clauses that God is the ultimate sovereign source of reality's architecture and the sole distributor of mercy.
Right, the ultimate authority.
Therefore, to be a wrongdoer who is placed outside of that mercy is to be fundamentally severed from the only actual source of power in the universe.
Because there's no backup system.
None. If you are cut off from the singular will that sustains reality, there is literally no other entity capable of acting as your protector or your helper.
You're just adrift.
The universe is vast, you are entirely exposed to the consequences of your autonomy, and there is absolutely no one coming to intervene.
Wow. That is a chilling architecture to build in a single sentence. I mean, it really highlights the terrifying vulnerability of the human condition when stripped of its illusions of control.
Illusions we work very hard to maintain.
Oh, totally. We build these complex societies, these legal systems and alliances, all designed to act as our protectors and helpers.
We insulate ourselves.
Yeah, with wealth or status, assuming those things will shield us. But this text cuts through all of those human-constructed safety nets and says, on a cosmic scale, none of that jurisdiction matters.
None of it holds up.
If you are outside the sovereign will, you are entirely, completely alone.
It forces a profound reevaluation of what security actually means. The text demands that the reader acknowledge their ultimate fragility.
You can't buy your way out of it.
You can't. You are existing in a fractured, divided world, a world intentionally designed with friction, and your only true recourse is a mercy you cannot forcibly earn, but must simply rely upon.
Well, let's synthesize the journey this one excerpt has taken us on, because the density of these concepts is just remarkable.
It really is a masterpiece of efficiency.
We began with the deliberate choice against a single human community. The text reframed human division, taking the friction of our fragmented world and defining it not as a chaotic accident, but as a purposeful environment allowed by divine will.
It established the macro-level reality we have to navigate every day.
Yeah. Then it tackled the micro-level interaction, forcing us to grapple with the incredibly uncomfortable reality of absolute sovereignty.
The death of the cosmic vending machine.
Exactly. It dismantled our desire for a predictable, transactional morality, placing ultimate grace entirely within the untethered jurisdiction of divine mercy. It reminded the reader that they are simply not in control of the payout.
Which naturally culminated in the final stark reality of the wrongdoer.
The ultimate isolation.
Right. The terrifying realization that to be separated from that sovereign mercy is to be stripped of all preventative shields and all intervening rescue. You are left entirely unprotected.
So, to you, our listener, we owe a massive thank you for bringing this incredibly dense, thought-provoking source to the table.
It was a fantastic submission.
It really is rare to find a text that so efficiently challenges our assumptions about autonomy, our demands for predictable justice, and our deeply held illusions of security. It's the kind of text that demands you slow down and really wrestle with the implications of every single word.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final thought to explore on your own.
Oh, I love these. Lay it on us.
It builds on the architecture we've discussed today, but it looks at the underlying mechanism from a slightly different angle.
Okay, I'm listening.
We noted early on that the text explicitly states the divine chose not to make humanity a single, harmonious community.
Right, the intentional division.
We discussed that this means the friction, the conflict, and the messiness of human existence are deliberate. But if a frictionless, absolute unity wasn't the goal, could it be that this very friction is the exact mechanism designed for the entire system?
Wait, the exact mechanism designed for what exactly?
For revealing the true nature of the autonomous agents within it. Think about it. If everyone existed in a state of perfect, enforced unity, there would be no meaningful moral struggle.
You wouldn't have any choices to make.
Exactly. There'd be no catalysts for arrogance and no desperate need for humility. Could it be that this divided, deeply conflicted world was intentionally designed as a crucible?
Oh, wow, like a testing ground.
Yes. A necessary high-friction testing ground meant to violently shake out who will humbly recognize their vulnerability and seek that sovereign mercy, and who will arrogantly rely on their own illusions of protection and become the isolated wrongdoer.
Because you cannot reveal the strength of a material without applying stress to it.
Precisely.
That casts the entirety of human conflict in a completely different light. The division isn't just a byproduct of free will, it's the very machinery designed to separate the entities.
Something for you to mull over as you navigate the daily friction of our perfectly fractured world.
That is a brilliant thread to pull on. Keep diving deep, keep questioning the architecture around you, and we'll meet you back here for the next deep dive.